Well, friends, we find ourselves once again looking at rules for thee, not for me, and a different set of standards and rules for depending on what organization or level of government that you work at. First, guys, go check out my friends over at CMMG, cmmg.com. These guys walk the walk. They don't just talk the talk whenever it comes to any kind of Second Amendment support. These guys are very active in the community as far as putting their money where their mouth is. Not only that, they make great firearms too. You can get your selection of calibers, Cerakote finishes, different types of action. One of the cool things about it is you also have a feature where you don't have to pay full price now. You can pay in payment plans. This is a pretty cool feature. Allows you to save a little bit of money now, keep some money in your pocket, and pay over the course of time. I recommend taking a look at this if it's something that fits your needs. Go to cmmg.com, use my discount code FTATF. Again, my discount code is FTATF. Receive 10% off your purchase at cmmg.com. The case where Arkansas Airport executive was shot and killed by the ATF, Brian Malinowski, because he was selling guns without an FFL. Remember, the nature of this, quote, crime. This was a truly victimless crime. Yes, I know he was breaking the law according to the ATF, right? Not the way it should be. So I get that. But the fact that somebody was doing something without a license, that's the extent of the illegality of Brian Malinowski before he got shot in the head. The fact that he was doing that doesn't change the fact that he has afforded to him his day in court to face his accuser, to give his side of the story, and to, let's face it, have a little bit of due process. He got none of that whenever he was gunned down in cold blood at 6:30 a.m. in the dark at his home. You guys will remember that 10 squad cars, 10, no less than 10, showed up not only with no lights flashing, but some of them even turned off their headlights as they approached this man's house. This man was not to be arrested. This man had 10 people show up at his house unannounced, not identifying themselves, and it was just for a search warrant. I want you guys to understand the depth of this. They were not there to apprehend him. They were not there to do anything with him like putting him in handcuffs or anything like that. It was simply the closest thing to him that they had access to via the warrant was his phone. They were there to search his home, his safe, his telephone, his records. No search warrant for his body, his person, and no arrest warrant. The ATF rolled up unannounced, put tape over this man's security camera as they approached his front door. I have to ask the question, why would an agency, I get criminals, and that maybe that's where we're going, I get criminals trying to hide their work on video. Why would a law enforcement agency put tape over a camera? Why would they try to hide evidence of what they were doing? Why does it not matter that they were hiding evidence of what they were doing? Then, allegedly, they unannounced kicked his door in, Malinowski, thinking he was being robbed, shot at them. In return fire, the ATF put a bullet in the man's head. I'd like to remind you, he was not to be arrested. They were not there for Brian Malinowski. This is very, very clear, guys. I can't drive this point home anymore. This man left in a body bag, and he was not to be arrested. Nothing in the search warrant was for him. They were not there for this man. They were there for his stuff, and they shot him in the head. Well, guess what? It looks like nothing is going to happen. According to a story by Lee Williams on AmmoLand, the Arkansas State Police Criminal Investigation Division investigated the Malinowski shooting. However, Arkansas State Police Director Colonel Mike Hager made a chilling statement late last month after his agency finished its investigation and sent the case to 6th Judicial District Prosecuting Attorney Will Jones. Quote, "We do not have the authority to address methods and tactics used or whether agency protocols and policies were followed. Any administrative oversight of tactics would fall to that agency's, in this case, the U.S. Department of Justice, internal review, and is not part of the scope of what the Arkansas State Police is authorized to review. So the locals who were sucked into this by the ATF, I mean, they're a part of it. They're a part of murdering this man and taking him from his family. They got sucked into this, yet they're not allowed to investigate what the ATF now, through the Department of Justice, will be investigating. We're investigating ourselves. Now, we can rest assured that now that this investigation is in the hands of the DOJ and the ATF, that everything will be fine, right? Just like everything came out fine after Waco, Ruby Ridge, and even Fast and Furious, where Americans were murdered by federal agents and nothing ever happened. In fact, some got trophies and plaques to put on their walls, and they still work for the ATF. Now, I was able to run across some exclusive footage of the ATF and the DOJ diligently performing. Now, this is behind the scenes footage and it's exclusive. I may get disappeared after you guys seeing this because this is footage that no one else is supposed to see. But this is them diligently investigating the case of Brian Malinowski being murdered. Check this out. So as you can see, they're on the case, and I doubt anything will slip through their fingers. I want to make it clear that whenever law enforcement kills someone, regardless of what level it is, two separate investigations are to take place according to Lee Williams. The first is usually conducted by local officials who determine whether the officer should be charged with murder. The second investigation is conducted by the officer's employer and determines whether the officer violated policy in any kind of way. Now, in this case, the Arkansas State Police is the agency that did the full investigation. That was the initial investigation. Now, this second investigation is being conducted by who? One of the guys from the ATF is who pulled the trigger. So they are going to provide the final investigation and determine whether or not this guy did anything wrong or will lose his job. Not that it makes it right for this man to walk for murder, because he was given approval to do that. Rest assured, there's a hint, a wink. This guy knew that if he put a bullet in Malinowski's head that he would walk. He knew that. Every agent there knew this. So he knows he's not going to get in any kind of trouble. But let's say that somebody has to find a scapegoat, which nobody will. This is a big time hypothetical. But let's say we need a scapegoat. So we go to that ATF agent who pulled that trigger. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to rat out everybody else who's murdered somebody in the ATF and nobody's ever done it. So, or done anything about it. So anyone working there has dirt on everybody working there. So nobody will ever be held to account from the ATF as far as murdering people. They haven't before and they won't going forward. I don't care who the president is. I don't care who your senator is or your congressman. None of that matters, because the president is the one who should be putting heat on the DOJ to do the right thing. And the president will never do that. Again, I don't think it matters who the president is. They never push down at the federal level to make people lose their job for doing something stupid, dangerous, or wrong. They either get promoted laterally or they fail upwards. That's just the way government works. Now, according to Lee Williams, no one was willing to discuss the case, including the Arkansas State Police, Senator Tom Cotton's office, who is the senator for Arkansas, and of course, Special Agent in charge of ATF's New Orleans Field Division, Joshua Jackson. He was not willing to discuss either. Friends, I don't know how you are able to hold on to any confidence by the American public of anybody at the federal level. I don't care what level. If the ATF can do this, the IRS can do this. The DEQ can do this. Heck, the post office has been buying up millions of rounds of ammunition. No level of government is ever held accountable. That includes the, quote, leaders from the president all the way down to a janitor. No one at the federal level is ever held accountable. And usually that's because they all screw up. So if you were to get rid of the screw-ups in the federal government, you would have to start over essentially. Because nobody with a really sharp set of skills would ever take a government job. Why would you? Pay's not great. You get no respect because the people don't. I don't know anybody who respects any government employees. I'm talking about from the highest level, presidents, senators, congressmen, all the way down to anybody. Actually, I respect the janitors in the federal government more than I do anybody else because they have less of an impact on any kind of policy and they're less likely to infringe upon any of the Americans' rights by cleaning a toilet. So yeah, I guess the janitors, I'm okay with them. But nobody in a decision-making role within the federal government has any respect by the American people unless you are a slave to that kind of thinking and you just think, oh, the government's looking out for me. Anybody who thinks the government is looking out for them will never cast a vote that won't be canceling out your vote if you have a freaking lick of sense. But looking at this ATF agent who will get off scot-free and likely get some kind of a promotion, more than likely a trophy, definitely a plaque on his wall, probably get a ribbon around his neck at some kind of thing at the end of this year where they're all celebrating, high-fiving each other for the people they killed, the dogs they killed, and the things they did to infringe upon other Americans' rights. This guy will be heralded as some kind of a hero. He stepped in, he ended the threat. I wonder if, since no one in the ATF is held accountable, if we've been looking at this wrong all along. I'm talking about honest people, good people, Americans, constitutionalists. Maybe we've been looking at this wrong. Maybe if we ever want to do something and get away with it, maybe we should join the ATF. Maybe that's the way we start ridding ourselves and our country and our neighborhoods of the bad people. Maybe we just join the ATF. Maybe that way we do whatever we want and there are no repercussions. And hell, you know what? We might get a raise out of it and a pretty trophy to put on our wall. Nah. I'm too principled of a person, and I know you guys are. It's not worth it to me to be a scumbag in order to get my way. I would rather fight my way through honesty and through the scumbags out there, using honesty through the scumbags out there, and do the right thing to the best of my ability, and know that I can lay my head down at night and get a good night's rest and have no demons and no worries about what I did that day. This guy who put a bullet in this guy's head for the ATF, he may get accolades, trophies, plaques, a ribbon around his neck, a high five. He may get all these things. And he may be trying to put this aside, that he murdered a man in cold blood in his own home at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. He may be doing all these things. He may be getting encouraged. Attaboy. He murdered a man. And I hope that haunts his soul till the day he burns in hell. Because he deserves it. Even if he was talked into taking that shot, he took that shot. And any reasonable, good person would not have taken that shot. And I mean what I'm saying. Anybody would have known the way this was going down in the dead of night with no arrest warrant whatsoever, not expecting this to even be a dangerous situation, and you do it via somewhat of a no-knock raid in the dark, whenever you're supposed to do this in the daytime. This man has to live with himself. And I hope he is tormented day and night right now, regardless of the trophies that he's getting from the ATF and the DOJ.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's over.